The remembrance of historic places and events tend to fade over time, whether it's construction, demolition, or generations not learning the area's past. In Joplin, Missouri, one building's story has started to fade from the minds of today's generation. I'm talking about Bonnie and Clyde's Joplin Hideout. When talking with locals, you get a mixed bag of knowledge of the apartment, but it's there, and we got to see what might remain. In scouting the location, we stopped by the local museum to look at some of the artifacts on display that were taken from the apartment. We also met a man by the name of Brad Belk who had a wealth of knowledge on Joplin, including Bonnie and Clyde.
I think what we have to do is back up on the days that they were here in Joplin.
On April 1st, 1933, Clyde Barrow, Bonnie Parker, Buck and Blanche Barrow, and William Daniel Jones rented the apartment. The small garage apartment became the site of a shootout with law enforcement that resulted in the deaths of 2 police officers.
I think they liked the apartment because it was limestone walls, so therefore bullets would have a tough time penetrating it. They liked the upstairs, so they had a view. If you stand in the apartment, you've got a 360-degree view, so you can look completely around, so nobody's going to sneak up on you. They liked the idea of being able to access their automobile, their Ford V8s, which is what Clyde loved to drive, access to the garage. So it had a lot of nuances that they were very comfortable with. What people don't understand is that Bonnie and Clyde did not live a glamorous, glorious life like everybody wants to think they did. They lived out of their car, and they lived in fear, rightfully so, because Clyde was a very awful man that killed people and police officers, which really isn't a good idea, and should always be accounted for. But this little 13 days in Joplin was, they actually had a bed, they had a bathtub, they had a kitchen. So they lived, if they could, live like normal people. And all was going well. I did do some looking back at Joplin Globes. There has been, during this 13-day period from April 1st to April 13th, I did see some activity of criminal activity, tourist camps being held up, people being strong-armed, and though we'll never know for sure, but we believe that Clyde and WD were definitely part of that crime wave while they were here in Joplin. The police were skeptical about these people that weren't working, that kept the blind shut, that seemed to have parties late at night, that there was something suspicious going on there. Whether it be the criminal activity that was occurring there, or the bootleggers that they thought possibly they could be also. So if they knew it was Bonnie and Clyde, there would have been a lot larger force, and there would have been a whole different, probably hopefully turnout scenario for what occurred. They seemed to be ready to sort of leave Joplin, possibly because they have created quite a bit of crime, and it's time to maybe move on. But as they were returning back to the apartment, as the story goes, they were bringing down the garage door, WD and Clyde, and that's when the 5 police officers from the area pulled up. And instead of asking any questions, a gunfight immediately ensued. Unfortunately, we lost 2 men here with families that can never reverse that step, and that is criminal and cruel on so many different levels. The gunfight, contrary to what people want to think, was very fast and quick, as gunfights would be. And they loaded up their car and drove off in haste. We know WD got tagged and shot in the abdomen, and they drove like crazy people all the way to Texas, and then they got him a little medical attention, which really was basically Band-Aids and some alcohol. You know, I don't. Nobody knows what anyone will do when there's when bullets are being fired and people are dying and bleeding. And I mean, I wouldn't dare want to be ever put in that position. Joplin is pivotal in that what was left there was the roll of film, and that roll of film was critical in understanding who they were. And for even as was looking through 1934 Globe, it really took a long time to identify who W.D. Jones was, and obviously now we know in hindsight. But they had him even with a different name. But the film is critical in getting the word out to the authorities. They were very neat and clean. They were tattooed, which I think is quite interesting, especially Bonnie. And Bonnie was also married to another criminal that was serving time. So this whole affair of salacious kind of material was front page news. We tend to forget, if you go back and look in the 30s, mid-30s, 34, 35, of the domination of outlaws. They're just running crazy. And Bonnie and Clyde are just another one of this group that eventually got their just reward. But that's the whole idea about history. That's the whole thing about infamous outlaws. Sometimes their legendary character goes beyond the truth. And the most unfortunate thing are these lives that were destroyed. When so many times you're a local police officer and you're just not going to run into a life and death situation, not here in our community. And there you go on kind of a routine call, and all of a sudden you find out that your husband, your grandfather, your father is dead. So, wow.
Bonnie and Clyde's run from the law ended on May 23rd of 1934 in Louisiana. Federal agents from Texas and Louisiana set up an ambush along the highway near Sales. Once the outlaws appeared in a stolen Ford Deluxe, the officers let loose a hail of gunfire with no chance of survival, despite the arsenal of weapons Parker and Barrow had with them. The house and apartment had been up for sale, so John and I drove out to get some shots and find out who currently owned the location. Wonder who the realtor is. That might be the next step, is just find out who the realtor is and contact the realtor, and maybe they'll have information for us on who owns it. That's the bullet hole ingrained from the shootout. To our surprise, the house had sold, and the new owner just happened to show up.
My name is Sandra Carr. My husband, Stan Cooper, and I purchased the house in October of 2016. I've lived here my whole life. I didn't know as much as I thought I did after we purchased the house. The previous owner had told me to get a book written by Blanche Barrow, who was Clyde's sister-in-law, who also stayed here in the house. They did an entire chapter on their 12 days here. It's very interesting, and it's from Blanche's point of view. This is where they used to keep all of their...
Where they kept what?
Their machine guns.
Oh.
Kind of get out of your way. It's kind of hard. They used to play puzzles, too. That's what all this is about. They played puzzles. And if you look up here, there is a bullet hole.
Oh, yeah, there is.
I found that as I was painting.
Probably figured they stashed away, they didn't have a lot to do.
They didn't, and actually right where you're standing, if you look at the floor, it looks to be like possible knife.
Yeah, I was sitting there.
Exactly.
Somebody carved their, looks like initials or something in there almost, maybe.
Is that a C?
Yeah, looks like a C.
It's like a C there. And those are
That
just
could
straight
be.
lines there.
But like somebody sat here and just was playing memory pad or something.
Yeah, it does look like a C.
From what I get from Blanche, they spent most of their day sleeping, and they liked staying up late in the evening. They play cards. Something they did every evening was take out and clean their machine guns every evening in the floor there in the living room. They stored them in the closet, and that was one of their nightly activities. From what the book said, this is where Blanche and Buck slept, and this is where Bonnie and Clyde slept. There was a fifth person, a WD, I think.
Yeah.
And he slept on the couch out here. They shared this garage with the house next door, which is on part of the same property. Blanche said that the man that lived next door would stand here underneath the windows and listen to them in the evenings. And yes, so they were always cautious when the man pulled his car into the driveway. When I was first we had got the house, I was putting a shower curtain in the bathroom. I'd taken the pole, tightened it up, and then went into the kitchen to unfold and put the hooks on the shower curtain. I heard a loud crash. Thought, well, there went that shower curtain. I guess I didn't have it well enough. And that shower curtain was still there. There was nothing. I mean, I didn't have anything in the house. I literally was just putting up the shower curtain. There was nothing. This window was open. It could have come from outside, but that was my very first week. I'm glad it's getting a little bit of notice. People stop by all the time. They see me in the street. They ask if they can come up, and happy to show them.
After discussing our intentions of filming and investigating here, we were given access for an overnight investigation.
I was trying to scare you. Watch out, there's a board everywhere.
Dawn, you know you don't have to try.
Don't trip downstairs. I hate
Speak
that.
to the microphone, Dawn.
That's for John.
Trying to get tape stick to the steps.
What's that, John?
Back off.
So we're here to investigate this historic place where Bonnie and Clyde ended up having an epic shootout with the police. Unfortunately, 2 of them ended up perishing. But with all the history and all that went on here that day, this should make for an interesting investigation.
Well, during the investigation, we probably won't get anything off of Bonnie and Clyde, but the 2 police officers that gave their life, I'm hoping to catch some evidence that they're still here.
One of the devices that we have that we take on some of these investigations is an ion generator. You can hear this one. This actually, you see those lights in there, produces enough ions that as far as wind goes, blood into the microphone there. This produces a lot of ions and puts it out into the atmosphere. This is a build. The shell of it was built and put together by John. This is something that we've implemented. We've had this throughout the years, but I've never really shown it on any of our investigations footage, but this is something that we like to pump out into some of these places to try to build up the atmosphere, and hopefully we can get some kind of interaction, or maybe something will happen. I don't know. We'll see what happens.
That doesn't look like too bad of an angle. I mean, we could move it further back in the corner a little bit.
Camera.
Tilt.
Which one?
Tilt to the left. Top left. On the kitchen.
Night has fallen. We're here at the Bonnie and Clyde Hideout. John and everybody's got the equipment set up, and it is time for us to get in there, start investigating, and we'll see what we can get. You're more than welcome to join us.
Okay, so first thing I want to do is I have a light here. It's a Bushnell, pretty much a hunting light in a sense. It's got 3 settings. Regular light, it has this other blue light, or red light, and then it has a blue light. The red light is known as a blood tracking light, just so you can hunt your prey or whatever. In the paranormal field, what I use it for is for seeing if we have any trails of blood that are been stained to concrete or anything like that left behind. It was said that there was a guy over here who was one of the officers who had actually passed away from the actual shooting. They had actually propped him up against this beam right here. So we're going to go ahead and see if we can locate any blood that may have been stained and stuck here over the years. One thing that's kind of bad about dealing with blood is over the years you may have some people who bleach it out, who kind of wash it. Now if we find like any real good blood, it will show up as like a more of a darker red kind of color, which you have to be careful because you can mistake it for dust or rust that may show up. So you really have to be careful. Now I do see some spots down here along the bottom. You can generally see them during the day, so I'm not 100% sure, but there are some like discolorations down around here, as well as right along here. John was seeing right along like this little crack area. It is pretty dark. Not sure if blood may have stuck on there or not, but it is something that's kind of interesting. Here, we even have a stain that's right here. Not sure if that's actual blood or not. I mean, it does show a different color. But this would be about the right height of the time period for someone to be propped up against there with a possible gunshot wound to his shoulder or something. Not seeing really hardcore evidence that we may have blood here, but in any case, this is a wonderful tool to try to go ahead and use. So give it a try if you're out and about.
Harry McGinnis, Mr. Police Officer. If you're with us, can you make a noise? Or just give us a shout out so we can catch it on the recorder? We're not here to harm you. We're just trying to gather evidence for our show called Haunting History and show what kind of tragedy happened at this location.
You hear somebody talking?
Really?
Well, I heard something like real quick.
Huh.
I don't know if it's somebody outside.
I don't see anyone walking the streets. We go peek out around. Looks like the neighbors are shut in for the night. Let's see if anyone's traipsing down the backside of this place. I'm hearing some odd noises out here during the day, or during the night. We've got dogs, you can hear we got AC units on these houses. We also have, your cars that fly by, plus the other random animals that may scurry about. So we just want to make sure that we eliminate all types of, other noises known as debunking. So we're just making our rounds to see if there's anything out here at the moment. And currently, it doesn't look like we have anyone out here creating any kind of odd noises that may sound like a voice. Besides the occasional car, don't know where that voice came from that Dave and Dawn had heard. Well, a little bit more investigating and we may find out. Alright guys, so ended up doing the rounds and could not find anyone or anything that was possibly making the noise.
Anyway, basically, Dawn said it sounded like a female voice.
Female? Yeah, there was no females out there. We just had one car that went by and I think one dog that I heard. But beyond that, it's fairly, quiet of a night out here.
So basically, if we do have a female here, I've asked you if you can tell me your name. I've asked you when you could tell me when you passed away. Were you possibly possibly a victim of the Joplin tornado that hit here not too long ago and killed a lot of people?
Is that you, Don?
I feel very heavy right here.
You breathing heavy?
I'm about to say, she just started breathing heavy.
I just feel really heavy, and I keep hearing the name Rosemary. Not like hearing it, but it just keeps like.
It keeps popping in your head.
But it's really heavy right here too.
Is there a collection of people coming to see us? If you were here while Bonnie and Clyde were, could you tell me what type of firearm?
I feel very shaky.
Yeah, you do. She's feeling very shaky. Yeah, let's go out here. Yeah, go and sit down on the ledge right there.
You gonna be sick?
I just don't feel right.
Like all foggy, clouded headed.
It's very heavy.
Step further away.
Yeah.
Like walk up the sidewalk here.
Oh.
Yeah, let's say. Yeah, let's get away from that house. You sit down. Feeling very emotional.
Yeah. That's crazy. I've never felt like that before.
Is it sad?
It's not. It's not. I'm not sad, but I just want to cry. But I don't have anything to be sad about. You know me. First, I kind of felt short of breath, and then I started getting kind of a heavy feeling on my chest, and I just started shaking really bad, and then I started crying, which is very unusual. I don't cry in front of anybody, so it was really strange for me. The feeling I had was just kind of a lot, like lost, like I wasn't myself, and it was just dizzy, and I just needed to get away from here for a little bit.
What you got on that one?
We're at 2.6,
Holy crap.
2.8, 3.1, 3.3, 3.4. John and I were getting EMF readings throughout the front of the apartment. A loud bang was then heard that seemed to resonate within the building.
I had
Not here.
orange, now it's gone.
Now it's going back up. At 0.6, 0.8. Is that Barry?
Hey, Barry.
He has earbuds in. So
You hear the whispering? I was just hearing whispering.
Well, I could not hear him walking. Like somebody was coming up the steps.
Is there somebody here with us? Can you take my hat off? My hat, not my head. John, the guy that's holding the camera right now, just reviewed one of the audio recorders and come upon a couple EVPs. We're going to check them out real quick. This first one is a man's voice saying, "Get out." Oh, that's me.
Is it dead?
Rewind it.
Yeah, I hear it. There's something there.
The second one's the girl's voice.
Yeah, it sounds.
Might have to replace the batteries on it.
Just barely hear it, but
Might have to replace the batteries on it.
I heard it all the way.
Just
over
before
here.
I say,
Yeah, just before you say that.
Yeah.
Batteries on it. Might have to replace the batteries on it.
That must sound like Get Out again.
okay, that's part of what I heard, but I heard something right before that.
Yeah, me too. I heard something right before the Get Out, but I don't know what that was.
It's a pretty good sentence, but
Might. Might have to replace the batteries on it.
Freaking
yes!
name. Said your name, dude.
It says David, get out.
It says David, Get Out. Holy. Did we just get that here?
Yeah. I gotta hear this again.
Might have to replace the
That's
batteries
my
on it.
name.
That is clean.
Oh, yeah. Did you hear my name on the one you were
I heard
reviewing
it from here. No, when
See, that's
I
what
reviewed
I
it,
heard.
I
That's what I heard
me and
when I said
earbuds don't get
earlier.
along.
I thought I heard a female talking.
Wait, so somebody heard that though?
Batteries on it.
I heard your name over here.
Wait a minute. This is a period where I heard a voice. You guys were talking, and then she heard the voice.
Yeah.
This is in that time frame because if you listen past that.
Might have to replace the batteries on it.
See, she heard it.
Yeah, Dawn heard it. Hey, did you hear that?
Yeah, I just heard that.
See, that's what I heard.
Yep.
That's what I heard.
Yes.
Earlier.
Damn.
I thought I
Yes.
heard a female.
Coming into this investigation, we didn't have any expectations. We wanted to come in here and tell the story of its rich history.
With those low expectations, I was thinking we were going to have a slow night, but that's far from what we got.
We went through most of the evidence through the night, and we were really surprised, and I was very, very happy with the results. Is that good or not? And why you're still at this location? Were you involved with Bonnie and Clyde staying here? Were you... Get out of my face.